Diabetes and insulin resistance. First video I wanted to do for conditions was always going to be on diabetes and insulin resistance, and it may not be the first one on this site, but it's still the first one I wanted to do, and for a few reasons. Number one, it is one of the most common conditions in the world right now and rising. Number two, is one of the most progressive disease processes in the world, leading to neuropathy and potential amputations. And number three, my grandmother actually suffered from diabetes and neuropathy, and it was incredibly difficult for me to watch her go through that because she had asked me for help earlier on in my career, and I was not yet knowledgeable enough in the subject to really help her. So when I learned how to combat diabetes and neuropathy, it became a focal point in my office. And number four, it is one of the most simple corrections of any conditions that I talk about. And so what's the simple correction? Keto. But before I go into why and how it works, like almost every other condition I talk about, there's one step you want to do first. Can you guess what it is? It was in my last video. You guessed it, we have to fix the leaky gut and get rid of the inflammation present in the body. But once that is done, let's go over why keto is one of the best ways to reverse complications of diabetes in both type 1 and type 2 patients. In type 1 diabetics, they can't create or release insulin into the body, and in type 2 diabetics, they do create and release insulin, but the insulin doesn't work very well. Insulin is released when we consume carbohydrates and effectively allows cells to absorb glucose to be used for energy. Problem for diabetics is that in either case, insulin either isn't released or doesn't work. So blood sugar gets high, and when they eat carbohydrates, they can cause a world of problems. Again, one such risk is neuropathy. Another is Alzheimer's, such as sometimes known as type 3 diabetes. There's also syndrome X, which is very closely related to insulin resistance, and I'll have that video. That'll be in a separate video. With keto diet, carbohydrates aren't consumed, so insulin isn't released. Instead, the body uses fats and proteins as an energy source. The reason we need to eliminate carbs is because they are normally very easy for our body to break down and will be the first thing the body uses for energy. Only by eliminating it will the body resort to other forms of energy that are actually inherently better because our body doesn't build up an intolerance to it like insulin does. So when we eliminate carbohydrates, instead of releasing insulin, it will release another hormone known as glucagon. This hormone breaks down fats for energy, which are much higher in source of energy than carbohydrates. Though the body can survive very well on glucagon for fuel, there is one part of the body that doesn't, and that's the brain. Instead, the brain uses ketones or ketone bodies when carbohydrates are absent, hence the name keto. Ketosis refers to a state in which the body is breaking down fats to create ketones, which are used for energy by the brain. It is one of the healthiest ways to live, but it can be very difficult for some. For diabetics, though, it is an absolute must if you want to reverse your diabetes. And yes, I did say reverse. Maybe not for type 1s, because no matter what, your body will never create insulin, but you can absolutely optimize your health with keto. Type 2, though, can be reversed. Remember, what created the insulin resistance in your body in the first place? Too many carbs. So what will create insulin sensitivity? Too few carbs. If you eliminate carbs for a long enough period of time, you will take away that resistance and make it sensitive again. And what I mean by sensitive is that when you do finally eat carbs again, you'll only need to release a small amount of insulin to absorb the carbs instead of a vast amount you had to release at the peak of your diabetes. Is this a guarantee? No, but I have seen it in a number of cases in my office with type 2 diabetics that started the keto diet. And then after a substantial amount of time, reintroducing carbs and not having the same reactions they did before they started. Now, of course, they wanted to stay primarily on the keto diet because of the amazing benefits they've seen, but they were able to have a guilt-free cheat every now and then. There is one disclaimer I need to make about doing keto, though. You need to make sure your body can handle fat digestion. My wife is a perfect example of someone who initially couldn't do it. Her gallbladder wasn't working effectively, so she couldn't properly digest all the fats. This is why I mentioned the gut program. The gut program can get everything working right first before you make the transition so that your body can do it efficiently. If you don't have a gallbladder or simply can't wait to start, there are two supplements I recommend for this: Biotics Beta Plus and Biotics Beta TCP. If you had your gallbladder removed, Beta Plus is a must. It will basically act as your gallbladder would. So take 2 of those with each meal. If you do have a gallbladder, then do not take Beta Plus. It could create a dependency. So if you do have a gallbladder, Beta TCP, take 2 with each meal. It will help your gallbladder work through the fat digestion. ADHS from Biotics can also help with normal adrenal function, which also plays a role in blood sugar. Another big thing to be aware of is what is known as the keto flu. It is not uncommon for some to get sick when they first cut the carbs, and the reason for this is dehydration. Carbohydrates do help your body retain water, so making sure you stay hydrated is huge. Biotics does have an electrolyte supplement. One other trick is to take a salt shot. Take a shot glass of water, pour 1/8 of a teaspoon of pink Himalayan salt in and take it. You can wash it down with more water if you like. The rule of thumb for getting enough salt and water is about 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt per quart of water you drink per day. And you can Google water intake calculator if you need. And one other thing to be aware of with keto is for women. Male and female hormones operate on different cycles. Male hormone cycles happen on a daily basis, while female hormone cycles operate on a monthly basis. So keto tends to be easier for men than women, but can be just as beneficial for women in all states. So even during pregnancy and breastfeeding. It has been shown to be especially beneficial for women who are trying to get pregnant and for women suffering from menopause. The reason for this is because keto causes a decrease in estrogen production. When trying to get pregnant, having proper balance of estrogen and progesterone is essential. So what's the catch, I'm sure you're thinking? A week leading up to the women's menstrual cycle, progesterone secretion is in full swing as it prepares a woman's uterus for pregnancy. This change can lead to some serious sugar cravings for energy. So it is advised not to start keto during that week before your menstrual cycle. The best time for women to start keto is the week following her menstrual cycle. This will give your body enough time to fully get into ketosis before the time rolls around again. Some other resources we have is an actual keto program that will give you a ton of information, as well as supplements that will help you keep hydrated and get you into ketosis, avoiding those keto flu and fatigue that sometimes happen when you're first starting. And then we also have shopping lists and recipes to make things easier. One of the best resources for keto is a good textbook, though, to which I recommend Keto Answers by Anthony Gustin, who is also a chiropractor. So quick recap on if you plan to start keto. Number 1, is my gut health in the best state to transition to keto? If you don't know, take my gut health survey. If you're good, you're good. If your results are mild or moderate, I would consider doing our gut health program, but it's not a must. If your results are severe and or you have diabetes, you should absolutely be doing our gut health program first. Number 2, do you have a gallbladder? If no, get Biotics Beta Plus and make sure you take it with each meal if you are going to transition to keto. If yes, then check out my food sensitivity testing video and test heavy fat foods to see how your body will handle them. If you have trouble digesting fatty foods after you transition to keto, then get Biotics Beta TCP and make sure to take 2 with each meal to improve that function as you start. Number 3, remember to stay hydrated. Drink plenty of water, take some healthy electrolytes, and not Gatorade or vitamin water, but a good healthy source, or take salt shots as needed. And lastly, have a plan. If you need help with one, again, we have a great program, or get the book Keto Answers by Anthony Gustin. Thanks again for listening. I hope this helps you reverse your diabetes.